I'm an only child, and I live with my mom and dad in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Our house is a little bigger than we need, but my parents always joke that it wasn't supposed to be just the three of us. They just never got around to having more kids. This happened when I was 15. It was a Saturday night in May, right before school let out for the summer. I remember that detail clearly because it was one of the last weekends before summer break, and I was already starting to look forward to the freedom. But the night this happened changed how I felt about being alone, especially at night. Before I go on, there's something you should know about me. I have a handful of weird medical conditions. I get panic attacks randomly, faint more easily than I should, and sometimes I have trouble breathing for no real reason. My sleep schedule's also a mess. I need complete silence to fall asleep, like actual silence. Even the sound of a fan keeps me up. So when people tell me how relaxing the sound of rain is, yeah, that doesn't apply to me. Where I live, it doesn't rain often, but when it does, it pours. And that night, it was pouring hard enough to sound like tiny rocks pelting the roof. I tried to bury my head under the pillows, put in earplugs, even hummed to myself, but nothing helped. Eventually, I gave up on the idea of sleep entirely. It was probably close to 1 a.m. At that point, I was wired. My body wasn't tired, and my mind was racing. I knew I needed to burn off some energy to even have a shot at getting rest. So, I decided to do something I had done before. I went for a walk in the rain. My parents had always said it was okay if I stayed nearby. We lived in a safe neighborhood, and there's a massive public park right behind our backyard. The kind with walking trails, a little playground, benches, and a long street running beside it. Even at night, the place feels calm and open. The park has tall lights that stay on all night, which somehow made me feel safer. I slipped on a rain jacket, left my phone behind so I wouldn't get distracted, and quietly made my way out the back door. The second I stepped outside, I was hit with the sharp scent of wet grass and the cool splash of water hitting my skin. Honestly, it felt peaceful. The trees around the park swayed gently, the leaves catching the rain like nature's wind chimes. It's weird, but for a while, I felt at ease. After maybe 20 minutes of walking around, I finally started feeling drowsy. My plan was working. I figured I'd head back home, dry off, and maybe, just maybe, fall asleep. But as I walked through the middle of the park, something caught my eye. Out on the road that borders the park, I noticed something black lying in the middle of the street. At first, I thought it was a trash bag or maybe a wet pile of clothes, but something about the shape seemed wrong. I stopped walking and squinted through the rain. That wasn't a bag. It was a person. They were lying face down in the middle of the road. My stomach dropped. My brain immediately raced through every possible explanation. Maybe they were hit by a car. Maybe they slipped and hit their head. Maybe they were dead. The rain was falling so hard, I couldn't even tell if they were breathing. And the way they were positioned, it didn't look natural. Every instinct told me to just walk away, to pretend I hadn't seen anything. But that didn't sit right with me. My parents raised me to help people when I could, and I couldn't just leave someone lying in the street, especially in the rain. So, against my better judgment, I started walking toward them. As I got closer, I could make out their clothes. Black pants, a dark, long-sleeved shirt, no jacket, no umbrella, just lying there, soaking in the rain like they didn't even care. It was a man, and for some reason, that only made the situation feel worse. The closer I got, the colder it felt. I know that sounds strange, but I swear the air went from cool to freezing in a matter of seconds. I was maybe 20 feet away from the guy when something made me stop in my tracks. A sound rang out from somewhere behind me. It was this awful, high-pitched screech, like a wounded animal, but not quite. Almost human. It echoed through the trees, like it came from deep in the woods behind the park. I spun around, heart pounding, and scanned the tree line. But there was nothing. No movement, no light, just trees swaying in the wind and rain pouring down. I turned back to the street, and the man was no longer lying down. He was sitting upright, facing me. I froze. I could feel my vision narrow and my knees start to shake. I couldn't hear anything except the rain pounding all around me. And just as I started to back away slowly, he stood up. That's when I saw the knife. He didn't just stand up. He locked eyes with me. His mouth twisted into this wide, sick grin. And then he ran straight at me. I didn't even think. I just bolted. My feet slipped on the wet grass, and I nearly fell flat on my face. Behind me, I heard him scream, "I'll kill you!" at the top of his lungs. I'd never run that fast in my life. The grass made it hard to pick up speed, but I didn't care. I just kept running, heading toward the dense trees in the back of the park. Yeah, I know. That's where the screech came from. But what choice did I have? I couldn't lead him back to my house. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I was terrified that if I turned around, I'd see him inches behind me. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but I kept pushing forward. Finally, I reached a thicker patch of trees and dove behind the widest one I could find. I dropped to the ground, curled up, and tried to slow my breathing. I listened for footsteps, but there was nothing. Just rain. I don't know how long I stayed there. Probably 20, maybe 30 minutes. Eventually, I peeked out from behind the tree. The path behind me was empty. No sign of him. No sound. Just the park. Silent again. I took the long way home, circling through a few side streets and back alleys until I reached my block. My parents were asleep. I snuck back in, soaked and shaking, and just collapsed on my bed. I didn't tell them what happened. I didn't even want to talk about it. Not for a long time. It's been a few years since that night, and I still don't have any answers. I don't know who that man was, why he was lying in the street, or what that screech in the woods was. Maybe it was all random. Maybe he was on drugs. Or maybe I stumbled into something I was never meant to see. But to this day, every time it rains, I remember that night. And I never, ever go for late night walks anymore.